Now, back by popular demand, it's the Lance Roberts Show.
And welcome to the show this morning at 6:07 on your drive-in as we get this Monday going. And we start the countdown already. It's Monday, Friday right around the corner. Always being optimistic. So I went to Vancouver this weekend. I had to do a keynote presentation for the World Outlook Conference. It's this massive conference they have every year in Vancouver. And really, I mean, it's a very interesting city when you go to Vancouver because they're tending to they're all leaning towards that kind of green energy side. I mean, all of the cabs are Toyota Priuses.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a mandate. I mean, if you're in drive a cab, it's got to be a Prius. So
Toyota's got to love that.
Yeah, they got their hooks into Vancouver anyway. But it was interesting because as you cross into when you land at the airport in Canada, and as you walk into Vancouver airport, and you get up to customs, right? You got to cross in. You got to show your passport and all that. It says all cannabis must be declared. So if you're bringing cannabis into Canada, it's okay. It's completely legal. You just have to declare it,
just
right?
Have to tell them.
You just have to tell them, hey, I got cannabis on me. So it was interesting, though. So I went to this conference, and so I'm hanging out in front. My speech is coming up, and they have all these vendors outside, and all these vendors were all cannabis-related vendors. So they actually had an entire day. The conference was 3 days long, but the one of the days was completely dedicated to the cannabis industry. So they have all these vendors out in front of this with every kind of imaginable cannabis product that you can imagine. I mean, lotions, creams, gels, gummy bears, you name it. There was coffee mixes with cannabis in it. So it's interesting that, as we see this movement towards, legalization of cannabis here in the United States, that in Canada, they're well ahead of the curve. They're already creating all these products. And so they have all these speakers that come up. And each one of the speakers would talk about their favorite stock for the coming year. Every single one of the presenters, their favorite stock was some form of cannabis-related stocks.
Well,
now,
of course.
Now, the reason I bring this up is because this time last year, do you remember what millennials? So there's an app, there's a financial app called Robinhood, right? And so this is one of the favorite apps among millennials to trade stocks. And Robinhood reported their results last year. Millennials do terrible trading their own stocks. They buy all the stuff that goes down. They buy none of the stuff that goes up. But you know what? This time last year, let me back this up. Of course, the favorite stock right now, even more popular than Apple on Robinhood, is a company called Aurora Cannabis. Now, the stock lost about 60% of its value last year, but it's one of the favorite stocks among millennials to buy is this cannabis. Now, this time last year, what was their favorite stock to buy? Remember?
I have no idea.
Bitcoin.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. So it was interesting. So here's the thing. So all these presenters are coming up. They're all talking about their favorite stock pick for the coming year. Some form of cannabis-related company. This time last year when I did the conference, every one of them, their favorite thing was a Bitcoin-related one. And of course, Bitcoin lost 95% of its value last year. So it's just interesting. It's the hot new thing. Everybody wants to get into cannabis and the whole legalization of it. And of course, apparently everybody's going to become dope smoking fiends because look, my dog's on hemp already. We talked about this a couple of weekends ago. He used to sneak into the cabinet to get a sweet treat. Now he breaks in to get the Cheetos bag. So, that's...
So you're saying that the Bitcoin investing last year went to pot this year?
Basically, exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, so I got home. So anyway, that wasn't really the story. The story I wanted to tell you is that I was trying to get home yesterday, right? So I flew out on Friday, and I was trying to get home yesterday, and my flight kept getting delayed. They had one of the flight attendants got sick, so they had to fly another one in from California. I was like, what, you don't have a flight attendant sitting around somewhere that needs to go home? So anyway, I get delayed. I finally get home last night after the Super Bowl ends. I didn't get to see the Super Bowl. Actually, I did. I watched the highlights, saw the whole game. So...
You didn't miss much.
No, it's all the highlight reel. That's all you needed to see. So I watched the highlight reel last night. I'm completely caught up on the game. But it was interesting because everybody I talked to in Canada, right, nobody wanted the Patriots to win. Nobody. They're like, I'm so tired of seeing the Patriots win. I go, hey, man, they're winning. People are sick of winning. This is the thing. Anyway, so I got home last night, and so here we are this morning, kind of getting the week under wraps and getting to go here. So a couple of things we're going to talk about today. Over the weekend, there was a poll that came out. Michael Moore, who has lost a lot of credibility with even the Democratic Party over the course of the last years, he was on the news this weekend talking about Ocasio-Cortez's view that we should tax the wealthy, put a 70% tax on the wealthy. We're going to talk about that after we come back from the break, because it is a myth, because the whole 70% tax bracket on the wealthy, they go back and they look at when we used to charge 90% tax on the wealthy and the economy was booming. Well, it has a big problem with that, because it's all based on fallacy. We'll come back and talk about that, as well as this idea of what we call now modern monetary theory. This is the new movement by the socialist left, particularly those like Ocasio-Cortez, to basically disregard the debt and the deficit. And I'm going to tell you why that also is a major fallacy, and we'll talk about that after we come back from the break. Very quick, though, the markets are starting to kind of open up this morning. Futures are slightly higher. Again, the markets have done well here over the last several weeks. We're very extended on the short term, but as we talked about last week, that the market had actually kind of starting to break out of this little consolidation that had occurred over the last couple of weeks. We broke out of that last week. Markets are going to be pushing up here towards the next level of resistance. We covered this in this weekend's newsletter. Be sure and get by the website, realinvestmentadvice.com. Get our latest newsletter. We go through all of what's happening with the markets right now, and in particular, the real key here is, of course, is that the markets are moving up on what the Fed said last week at their meeting, talking about the fact that, hey, QE is an option, and lowering interest rates is an option. In fact, they're talking about pausing right now. So we talk about the problem with that potentially for investors going forward. I've got a lot of stuff to get into today, so hang around. I'm your host, Lance Roberts, for The Lance Roberts Show. Get by our website, lancerobertsshow.com, and get this podcast and more all at our website as well, lancerobertsshow.com. We'll be right back.
Catch Lance Roberts' podcast later at lancerobertsshow.com.